back on the CJ5 build. Since the last video I've finished sanding down the cowling and all of down the driver's side here. I've managed to get that into some 2-pack primer. I sprayed that on. I've done several coats now. That was only done last night, so I'll give that another day or so to dry up. Normally it's fine over 24 hours. I tried sanding it down slightly around the Jeep letters. It still feels a little bit soft. I think mainly because the amount of layers of paint that I put on, rather than doing a couple, I've done probably 5 or 6 good heavy coats on that. So as I say, I'll give that a couple more days to dry up before I really start to block that down. So today's job is to make a start on the toolbox. There's 3 main stages on that job. Firstly, down the bottom here needs to be cut out and replaced. There are a few little pinholes in the bottom of it, and also I did make a mistake when I patched that in a few years ago. If you can see, I'll try and hold the camera down. As it comes in towards me, it bends in a bit too much. Now I replaced the whole side panel on this side, so I was looking at it from a different angle, and I assumed that the side went straight down, whereas it didn't. It's at a slight angle on there, and I'm not really too happy with that. There's a few, as you can see, a few little pinholes down there. I was going to just go over those with seam sealer originally, but I've marked out the lines. That'll all be cut out and replaced. There's another section on the back of the toolbox. Mainly want to replace that just because it's rust jacked. You can see all these spot welds that have shown up on it. So I'm hoping that should be a simple enough job to do that one. I've marked it out again, the lines, so it's just a case of cut along those lines, drill the spot welds and peel that off. It's obviously going to be rusty underneath, and I'll need wire brushing, cleaning up, rust treating and so on before a new piece of steel goes in. And the last bit to do here and back here, where the seat clamps, I don't know what you call them, they're hooks, brackets I suppose. You can see they're slightly bent. So what I'm going to do is, after I cut this front section out, I'll give me better access then to get in there with a hammer and dolly and try and straighten them up. So yeah, today's job's the toolbox, so let's make a start on that. Trying to get this bottom section out of here. The trouble is, when I replaced this, I only replaced this bottom edge, not the top, which is why it's still got the vent. And the trouble I've had while trying to get this out now is, when I replaced it, I replaced that flange obviously along the bottom, I plug welded it, ground the welds back down, so it's not actually spot welded. It was on that top piece, was original, but my patch came in about here, so from there down it's plug weld. So yeah, I can't find the spot welds on here, and I try not to damage the floor too much either. I can at least pull the panel apart and figure out where the welds are, then I can cut the panel out and I'll have to grind the welded area back down and get it that way. actually. I don't know if you can see that. Quite a flat one. It's ideal for the job. If it was spot weld, it normally would go straight through them. It is best if you drill them out, but you can sort of get away with just hammering through some spot welds. I did look back at some old photos, but you can kind of see the welds in there, but it's knowing exactly where they are on here is a problem. I think the best thing to do now anyway is this is stopping me really getting under there. I think I need to get in here and sort of cut the bulk of this out, get the worst of that out of the way, and then I can go from there and figure out what is attached and what isn't. Well, I've got it out. What I ended up doing was cutting as much as I can. Trying to hold the camera and this in two hands. So yeah, cut as much as I can down that flange, pulled the main panel back on itself, got that out of the way. That then made it easier to get the chisel down the back of the flange, because what I was finding is couldn't bend that flange back. I couldn't get the chisel down behind it properly because it was hitting the side of the main panel, and that was sort of reinforcing it. So I've cut that out, managed to pull that down out of the way, which then left just a thin piece of metal then that I could put the chisel straight through and pull the chisel this way without it hitting on the panel. There will be a tiny bit of grinding just from what's left of the welds that I put on, but a lot of those I managed to actually pull them off and chisel right through them, so it has taken the bulk of that off. You can see the patches that I put in, which wasn't really the best welding based on two reasons: that I was welding it inside the toolbox, so access was a bit limited and I couldn't really see what I was doing, and also I did this 4 years ago before we had a armoured cable and proper electric in the workshop. So the problem with that was we had a 50-metre extension lead with a 30-metre plugged into that, so I was on 80 metres of extension lead and I just wasn't getting enough volts into the welder, so it was really struggling. Now something like that, for example, I've got 4 settings on the welder. That sort of sheet metal, normally I would weld that on number 2. When I did this, I had it right up on number 4, and I was still struggling to get penetration on number 4 due to a voltage drop, but I've got some electric, so hopefully today's welds will come out a lot better than those anyway. But yeah, that's that chopped out of the way. You can get a better angle now with you know what I'm talking about. You can see this up here, it slopes off that way slightly, whereas I put the original panel in, you can see how where the line goes, the line pulls right in, because I assumed it was a 90 degree, but it's not 90 degrees at all. So yeah, my next step now, I suppose, get the grinder in there, clean all this metal all up, see what I got in there, and then it start to cut out the new panel. I have everything on the tub now is all cut out, cleaned up and ready to weld. I've made the new panel up here, cut that out with some sheet metal, folded it up in the metal folder and punched some holes in around the edges just for a few plug welds. This is the tool that I used. It's quite a handy tool, that does a good job at that. Punches the holes on one side, you can swivel it round and it the joggles, I suppose they call it, the metal on the other side. So that's all done. Got some weld through primer on the back of it now. Gone with U-pole weld through primer. That's the stuff I use. I have tried the cheaper Halfords branded stuff, but that's no different to regular primer. It was a bit difficult to get in the corners. I've cleaned it up with a drill and a grinder and power file. I haven't got the vent on there, you'll notice that. I'm not too worried about putting that original vent back in. There is another vent down here anyway. And the old one was quite beaten up and not really worth salvaging. And as I say, I'm not worried about the vent. So now, next job, get this clamped in place and start welding it up. Well, I've welded all that up now, apart from the plug welds on it, because I wanted to bend the panel into the angle that I wanted it in the first place, so that bit's still loose. They don't look amazing, but there's plenty of penetration on there, so that will do the job. That was all built up out of tiny little spot welds a bit at a time, trying to minimise the distortion. Just up on the top of here, you'll see that flange doesn't quite meet the floor. The floor actually seems to bow down slightly there, so I need to tap that back up from the underside. Doesn't fit too bad on the rest of it. That is a straight edge anyway. The metal folder doesn't bend curves, it only does straight edges, so that is straight. It's the way that the Jeep was built from the factory. Even up here, that's all factory up there. You can see how badly that is. That gap there doesn't fit at all either. I'll get all that ground back down and then we'll have a look at it in a minute. So that's all been ground back now. It's not come out too bad. Try and get a better angle for you. Just used a flat disc in the angle grinder for that. Had to use the little belt sander to get down into that corner. Still got the plug welds that I need to put in there and grind those down, and that'll be the end of that panel. I'm going to end the video here on this one. It's getting quite late in the day now. But on the next video, hopefully I can get the toolbox finished. It's just that little section there to do. So if you could all like and subscribe, follow me, there'll be the updates coming out soon, so see the final progress on this one. So for now, I'll see you in the next video.